Hello, welcome to another episode of Set Musings. So, today's episode we're taking a look at Magic 2010 M10. So it wasn't long after this, so I think it would be World Wake that I started buying Magic product again. So it's really interesting to see this particular period. So this was released on the 17th of July 2009. It's a core set, and going forward I am going to do set musings on all of the core sets for as long as they lasted, because I know they stopped for a while and then they came back and then they stopped again. But there's sufficient difference now in core sets going forward, because from M10 onwards, Magic 2010 onwards, roughly 50% of the cards were reprints, but 50% of the cards were new cards for that set. Something I'm planning on doing actually as well, just outside of the core sets with the regular sets, is doing a tab for reprints, so it's really easy for everybody to see which cards in a particular set actually were reprints. I've touched on it before, but in a rather haphazard way, and I just want to do it a bit more controlled going forward, and starting with these core sets onwards through the other sets is probably a good time to start doing that. So 249 cards, 101 commons, 90 uncommons, 53 rares, 15 mythic rares, and because it's a core set we get 20 basic lands, or again at least we did at this point in time. Now let me just, so I'm just cross-checking something whether it was worth talking about, but no, I might leave that for another episode. So, the core set, this particular core set, what, if anything, do we need to look out for? So, big facelift because of the change of the breakdown, and obviously that enabled within the core set to introduce cards that hadn't been printed before, and that would allow wizards to print specific answers to strong cards in the metagame. First core set with planeswalkers and mythic rares. There were no legendary cards in this set, so you're going to see what I've had to do when we get to the Commander Fodder episode, how I've tackled that. And if you remember, there were legendaries in the previous core set in 10th edition, but just not in M10. Also at this point there were a number of rules changes to do with how mulligans worked, and the renaming of the in-play zone as the battlefield to bring it in line with terms like graveyard and library, and permanents enter the battlefield or put into the battlefield. And then you had terms like cast, play and activate. Exile was introduced, and cards now referred to beginning of the end step instead of the phrase at the end of the turn. Also mana pools and mana burn. Mana pools now empty at the end of each step and phase, which means mana can no longer be floated from the upkeep to the draw step, nor from the declare attack steps to the declare blocker steps of combat, and
as a consequence of that, tying in with that, mana burn is eliminated from the game. Mana left unspent just goes away. There's clarification on token ownership. Combat damage no longer uses the stack. Multiple blockers are assigned damage in succession. Death Touch became a static ability. Lifelink became a static ability. And although I don't think it features in this set specifically, but there was a change in the way banding worked as well. I don't think there was any banding in here, but I could be wrong. So before we start to look through the cycles, I'm just going to flag up some of those things that I've talked about. So, reprints, 118 reprints in the set. And I just scroll through slowly, but if you're familiar with Magic prior to M10, you can see what I'm talking about, including the fact that those Planeswalkers were reprints of the original Planeswalkers. And some of these had been reprinted a number of times over the course of Magic's history. And you know, if people watching this video had been playing for a long time, they will see certain, very old cards in here. In fact, prior to this, I'm trying to remember. The last time that the Bolt was printed. Yeah, that goes way back to the original core sets, and these are all just, this was what, the beat down one, I think. There you go, so pretty old school. We've got Warp World and Elvish Visionary, Llanowar Elves, Giant Spider, Rampant Growth, and these things, what they call Lucky Charms, which I'm sure we'll be going to. Howling Mine was also in here, and Spellbook, and Whisper Silk Cloak, along with Terramorphic Expanse. So yeah, quite a number of reprints, and also reprints that maybe have not been reprinted in a while. So these are the new cards, so 111 new cards. And a number of these will be featuring when I do the cycles, but you can see we've got some interesting stuff here, like Doomblade, Sign in Blood, Vampire Nocturnus. For some reason I ended up with multiple copies of this. And I think this was a promo card for something, but oh, that's right, yes, it was the Jewels of the Planeswalker 2013 promo, and it was in Magic 2013 as well. So I know one of these, maybe it was Magic 2013 that I actually pulled multiple copies of these. Act of Treason was new. Goblin Chieftain. Ant Queen and Acidic Slime. Deadly Recluse, bit of death touch going on there. Master of the Wild Hunt. A fungus snake. Protein Hydra. And these lands, which will no doubt get them to and have a look at some point. And just to show you here, so there were no multicoloured cards beyond those dual lands. So I mentioned about changing the wordings on cards, so we have now this thing of referencing the battlefield. I don't know if I can actually easily show you that actually, how that looked before. Let me just see if as clone comes into play, you may choose a creature in play. Yeah, so here you can see you may have clone enter the battlefield. So that was the change in wording. And it had the old wording up till here. And then you can see there it's changed. So yeah, 34 cards that specifically now mention this, the battlefield. We've got 7 cards that specifically mention exile. And again, if you look at see the previous set that this was in, remove target black or red permanent from the game, as opposed to exile target black or red permanent. Then only 4 cards which reference the end step in the new form at the beginning of the end step. And I'm sure, Stone Giant, if we look back to 5th edition until end of turn, as opposed to at end of turn destroy that creature, as opposed to the new one, which is destroy that creature at the beginning of the end step. And it's good old death touch. So I'm not sure if any of these were printed before. No, they weren't, so I can't really compare that. I'm wondering if that was just a change in the way that Death Touch worked rather than the introduction of the term Death Touch. Yeah, I think that was the fact that it became a static ability. Rather than necessarily a wording. Same is true of Lifelink, I believe. Yep. Okay, so we have a cycle of these Lucky Charms. They cost 2 to cast, and they have an ability that allows its controller to gain life whenever a spell of the appropriate colour is played. These are reprints from Darksteel. And as you can see, that's where they were printed originally, but you can see they've been reprinted several times after, and then a few times after M10.
Cycle of enemy colour hoses, they're all at uncommon and they hamper both of the enemy colours at a relatively low mana cost. 4 of these are reprinted from Hoser Cycles from other sets. Flash Freeze and Deathmark come from Cold Snap. Celestial Purge and Ignite Order come from Conflux. And you can see they all have something which disrupts enemy colours. So this one, the white one, we've got it exiles a black or red permanent. The blue one counters a red or a green spell. The black one destroys a target green or white spell. The red one, 3 damage divided amongst any number of white or blue spells. And then this one, which must be new and was only printed in M10, whenever an opponent casts a blue or black spell, you may put a +1/+1 counter on Mold Adder. So, the Planeswalkers. So these are the original cycle of Planeswalkers from Lorwyn, but these were reprinted in this set as Mythic Rares. At the time of Lorwyn, there weren't any Mythic Rares. They were just reprinted at in a regular rare. And of course we saw these when we did the Lorwyn episode. But you can see the template. Same thing. So we've got this plus ability. Then we've got a minus ability. And Chandra specifically has also this -X ability. And then we have the so-called ultimate. And some you can see are easier to reach the ultimate than others, but some have more powerful ultimates than others. So try and balance them. And all slightly different casting costs in these two, but they all have 2 colour of the appropriate colour mana in them. So this is what, 4 in total to cast these 2. This one's 3. 5 and 5. So there was a cycle of tribal lords in here, all rare creatures, and they give other creatures of their type +1/+1 and an additional ability Raider related to them in some way. So the white one is soldiers, the blue one's merfolk, the black one is zombies, the red one is goblins, and the green one is elves. And you can see additionally how the other ability on here is specific to, you know, the colour in some way, or the tribe in some way as well. So this one here, you can see we've got 3/1/1 soldier creature tokens coming into play. Unblockable on a merfolk. Exile a target creature card from a graveyard, any graveyard, and you put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. We got goblins, get +1/+1 and have haste. So haste is the additional one, and this one is mana generation. What I might do in a moment, while we're on this, I'm going to on the fly, seeing as that's come up, let's just see, shall we, for those different creature types, just in the set, just within the set, how many we had of a particular type, just to give us some idea, if you were drafting this, or yeah, but more than if you were drafting this, and you got one of these, like how could that pan out? So we have 6 including that one. these two, which we'll come back to in a moment. Actually, they're in another little mirrored pair, I think. The blue one was Merfolk. Yeah. So you can take what you like out of that. So 3 cards, one of which is that Lord. The other 2 are at common. Four zombies, all the others are at common. What about good old goblins? 5, including the Goblin Chieftain. Okay, another rare, an uncommon, and 2 commons. And then finally, elves. So 2 commons and another rare in addition to the another rare in addition to the Lord. Just to give you some idea there. So yeah, cycle of allied coloured check lands. So when these come into play, they check to see, or when they enter the battlefield, should I say, when they enter the battlefield, they come in tapped unless you control a plains or an island, and then they tap for the appropriate allied colours. Right, some mirrored pairs. Holy Strength and Unholy Strength. And you can sort of see where the mirroring is there. White Knight and Black Knight. So. Mind String and Mind Shatter. So we've got draw on that one, discard on that one. Divination and Mind Rot again, draw and discard. Veteran Armoursmith, which is a matched pair with Veteran Swordsmith. So these are the 2 common soldiers which we saw earlier. So it looks like you could draft a pretty interesting soldiers deck if you felt so inclined. It'd be interesting to see what equipment was here as well, which we'll have a look in a moment. So some notable cards: Baneslayer Angel, flying, first strike, lifelink, protection from demons and from dragons, 3 and 2 white. Hive Mind. It's a piece of a combo deck in Modern that kills the opponent, forcing them to cast one of the spells of the pack cycle from future sight, like Pack of Negation, when they are not able to pay their cost. And then Doomblade. So a nice piece of black removal there. Great artwork on that. They did reprint Baneslayer in 2011 and 2021 in a number of different formats. It was also in that From the Angels Vault. Was the online promo any different? No. So the artworks remained unchanged. And I mentioned the set had mythic rares in it. We saw that a number of the original Planeswalkers had been reprinted, the Fight Cycle of 5. But in addition, and we quickly do that. Let's just screen them out. There we go. So in terms of the sort of distribution here, we've got 1 white mythic, 2 blue, a couple of black ones, red, 2 greens, and then 2 colourless artefacts. Garden Hilda Kite was in here. Protein Hydra. Been reprinted, yeah.
Oh, it was in the From the Vault's Dragon and that Knights versus Dragon deck. Commander 2014 as well. And this was an interesting one as well, Platinum Angel. So you can't lose the game and your opponents can't win the game. And Darksteel Colossus, of course. So now the wait is over. The basic lands. So of course, as always, you'll often notice there's several here that clearly look like they've come from, you know, earlier sets, quite old artwork. Unfortunately with this, I don't think, I mean, I could do a search, yeah, so you can sort of do various related searches which will let it narrow down a little bit. So you can sort of see what you know, maybe what artwork this comes from originally. That's interesting. Interesting style there. Yeah, we'll definitely have to take a look at some of the, well actually we've already haven't we, because I think I got up to this point with my Lands Ahoy episode maybe. I should check that. Nice. This is a little bit different. I've always liked this one as well. I mean, these are pretty classic, but might have to see if I've got one easy to hand today when I do the artwork episode and do a bit of a close-up of this. See if we can see any interesting details. That looks like someone peering out from there, maybe. Okay. These are our non-basics. So in addition to that cycle, we've got also Gargoyle Castle at rare. Tap, add 1 to your mana pool. 5 tap, you sacrifice it and you put a 3/4 colourless gargoyle artifact creature with a creature token with flying onto the battlefield. And then I mentioned before, I think Terramorphic Expanse is in here. So you tap, sack it, search live for a basic land card, and that gets put into the battlefield tapped. And then you shuffle your library. There's the Planeswalker in there were the only Planeswalkers were from that cycle. There weren't any additional ones. No legendaries, as I said. 110 creatures. And many here, like classic creatures from Magic's history. And also, you can probably see here, you know, like certain cards are, what's the word I'm looking for, like a lead-in maybe to the following set, and what was to happen in the original Zendikar block. So there were 14 regular enchantments. Oh, I always say that wrong. Sorry. There were 14 auras. Yeah, I always forget I do auras first. 14 auras.
and one of which was pacifism. But we also had unholy strength and holy strength. Good old mind control, fire breathing, and also oaken form. So with the core set, it's always interesting to see the sort of auras that are there. You know, there's like the sort of good, solid auras, the sort of things you'd expect in an aura, often in those core sets. Here we go. So regular enchantments, non-aura enchantments, things like where are we? Aura of the Pure, Levitation, Hive Mind, Telepathy, Mana Barbs was in here, Underworld Dreams, Sanguine Bonds, Megrim, Lurking Predators, so a number of just straight artifacts, and again we saw that there was this cycle within here, the lucky charms, but then in addition, if you take out the lucky charms, you've got coat of arms here in the set, which has turned up in a number of core sets. Howling Mine, again, bit of a staple of core sets. And we've got Mirror of Fate, which is a new card, never been reprinted again. Got Pithing Needle, which comes from Saviours. And then things like Rod of Ruin and Spellbook. So Spellbook, first printed in Exodus. That's pretty cool artwork there. Was it called? It's skip your discard phase instead of you have no maximum hand size. And you can see the change from here to here between that wording. And Rod of Ruin, way back. Yeah, you don't obviously always see all of them there. So I wonder with Spellbook, I think, yeah, that does just go back to Exodus. Three artifact creatures. We've already seen Darksteel Colossus. We've already seen Platinum Angel because both of those were mythics. And then Ornithopter. And you can see Ornithopter. Oh no, there's the Mirrodin artwork. And that, yeah, goes way back. Look at the original here. So that's Antiquities. That's reprinted and revised, and a few other special sets around that time. And then there is a printing in, what would that be, 4th edition, and yeah, 4th, 5th. Oh, and classics. Sorry, ran the wrong way there. I should know better. So yeah, 6th edition, sorry, I'm reading the Roman numerals around the wrong way. Yeah, so 6th edition. You could have got one with the original artwork. So several different, artwork variations there. As you probably gather, I'm spending a little bit longer on the various reprints side of this for obvious reasons, but also I've got less cycles to really talk about. So, and then the equipment. There's just 3 pieces of equipment: Gorgon Flail, Mage Bane Armour, and Whisper Silk Cloak. Well, we know this was a reprint because this was in Dark Steel. These, that's only been printed in Magic 2010 in M10, and this one only in Magic 2010 M10. Equip creature gets +1/+1 and has Death Touch. Equip for 2, cast for 2. Equip creature gets +2/+4 and loses flying. Prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to equip creature. Equip for 2, cast for 3. .31 instance. So what have we got? Instant speed, life gain, conditional exile, good old destroy, targeting, attacking and blocking at instant speed pump, +7/+7 for a blocking creature. Damage prevention. Oh, spellcasting prevention in here. We've got silence. Oh, enchantment destruction, counter spell, counter creature spell, conditional counter spell, flying, non-creature spell, duplication, bounce. Then we move on to Doomblade, life swap, life drain, whatever you want to call it. Deals X damage to target creature and you gain X life, where X is the number of spells you control. Some swamps, so yeah, conditional on that. There's a conditional 3 damage spell, but then of course we've got a single red 3 damage lightning bolt targeting creature or player at instant speed at common. Fog's in here, giant growth might naturalise, windstorm as well. When was that? That was the first time that appeared. I was trying to think of what's the other card that does that. It's gone anyway. So what do we got? Sorcery speed, bounce in white. Number of bounce cards there. Oh, there's Plane of Cleansing. So that's the sort of sets Wrath of God. Wrath of God. Actually, that does all non-land permanents. So yeah, 3 and 3 white for that. So basically not a Wrath of God, but it is mass removal. So yeah, you lose everything apart from your lands. Target artifact, yeah. Okay, card draw, artifact, more draw. Interesting sort of, blue destruction spell. Library manipulation, tap down, extra turns, top of the library, mill on that. Traumatized, so there was some mill in here. And there were several cards, I think other cards in here, which sort of interacted in various ways with mill as well. particularly in black. Oh yeah, Lava Axe is in here, Pyroclasm, Fireball, Warp World, which we'll come on to in a moment. Bountiful Harvest, Howl Night Black, Overrun was in here, and Rampant Growth, so yeah. It's like a... Okay, so just back to the set here. In general, I don't think there's really much there I need to add. Just looking, there's quite a few humans here. Right, most expensive card in the set, Coat of Arms, $17. Then we got Master of the Wild Hunt, 15. I don't think if I've got a copy of this or not, I'll have to see. Time Warp, 12. It's been reprinted. Birds of Paradise, so that was a reprint. $11, but not been reprinted, a few times since then. But you've got all the original Birds of Paradise from way back when. Darksteel Colossus, so we're getting close to the $10 threshold. Sphinx Ambassador. And Vampire Nocturnus. So the Jules promo and the actual one from Magic 2010 are similar in price. Platinum Angel. So we've got a number of here that are hovering around just above $10. And then we drop below for Twin Cast and Lurking Predators and so on. Oh yeah, there was a blue artifact deck in Plane Chase from what I remember. Okay, EDH All-Stars, so just looking at the EDH ranking, or the EDH Rec ranking, yeah, usual suspects, Terramorphic Expanse, Rampant Growth, Negate, Land War Elves, Birds of Paradise, Ponder, these check lands. Diabolic Shooter was in here, of course. Yep, Signing Blood, Acidic Slime, Bolt, Silence, Sanguine Bond, Chantress, Soul Warden, and so on, Howling Mind. But yeah, I mean, Terramorphic Expanse. So many decks. I imagine this is in. And there we have it. So that's the set, Mused. Yeah, it's definitely really brings back memories looking through this stuff. I think I've got a playset of these somewhere. Maybe. I'm trying to remember whether I did buy a set for when I did that episode on No Land, No Hand toolkit from way back. So let's see what's coming up. Before we do that, actually, we'll take a quick look at the intro pack. So again, 41 cards in these, and I think there was still one booster. I'm not sure the point at which they changed to 2 boosters, actually, whether it was here or not. I'm just looking in the marketing section off screen on MTG Wiki to see if I can see here. What's the extra boost? So extra boosters came in with Magic 2013. Okay, so we still had, yeah, at this point still 41 cards, with the 41st being the foil, and that card number didn't change till 2011 when it went up to 60, and they still included the booster pack. So this had one booster pack in it. So it doesn't say here actually which one of these was the foil. I'm assuming it was the Shivan Dragon. So we had a Firebomber deck. So this was red, blue. You can see they got Terramorphic Expanse in here for fixing. They didn't have the nice lands, if you know what I mean. The cycle that were in the set, they kept those out. Yeah, it looks like the one that's here was always the foil. So I'm pretty sure that these were foiled. I'm not sure if I've even got any of these actually. So yeah, it does look like they had a sort of lead creature as the foil. So what do we got? White, red, soldiers, angels, griffins and Pegasus. Blue, black. Looks a bit all over the place. So we got black, green. Interesting. So red, blue. And then our green, white. Humans and elves, alongside savage creatures of nature. Yeah. Bring back the theme decks, please. Okay, so on to what's coming up. So we've got an episode of Commander Fodder. As I said, there's no legendaries in the set. Yeah, there's no legendary creatures, because obviously Planeswalkers are legendaries. There's no legendary creatures, so I don't have a commander. So what I decided to do in my pool, I actually ended up with Warp World. So I thought I'd have a crack at building a mono red chaos deck, just because I've not tried this before. So I've got Nor in the Weary, so we'll talk about that actually in the episode. Just as a safety net, I also went on to EDH Rec and got it to generate like what they call an average deck, just in case I got stuck halfway through of doing the episode and didn't know what was best to choose. So I'm just going to have that as a sort of backup, really, as a safety net, so I could reference back to it if I needed to, if I start to notice that the Architect suggestion algorithm is just suggesting very strange things. But it'd be interesting to see how it handles this. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that episode. So thanks once again for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.